So, if you've been following along with some of our social media posts, you know that I differentiate the soul cartography practice from an art journaling practice. And I thought I'd share with you a little bit about what that looks like. So, this is the journal that I used during the course, that I modified, that I wrote in, that I painted while we were creating the course. So I'd just like to share that with you. It is not uncommon for me to be sitting in a coffee shop working in my journal and have somebody stop and ask me what it is that I'm doing. It's intriguing because some of these pages are very visually interesting, but I want to talk to you a little bit about why the soul cartography practice is different than an art journal, or the kind of journal that you might keep if you're an art student, or something that's very art, craft, scrapbooking focused. This practice is attached to what I call soul work. Soul work for me is connected to emotional intelligence, it's connected to spiritual practice, it's connected to personal growth. So I'm going to go through one of my journals and just talk to you a little bit about what is in these pages. So in the course, I talk about the details of how I created this book, but in the very big picture, what I did was I collected images, I collected stories, I collected questions, I paid attention to colors and things that were of interest to me. I also collected ephemera from my everyday life, ephemera being things that normally you throw away, like tickets or receipts. And sometimes I just take those tea tags, whatever, and put them in my book. And it does create this narrative of sorts of your daily living. So then, part of the power of this practice is the rhythm of reflecting. So that's what I want to do with you now. Okay, so here's the beginning of the book. I decided this time around that I wanted to paint the book. So I painted the book and then added some collage materials on the outside. When I went back to look, I noticed thematically that this particular book has this fuchsia color, and also there are quite a bit of floral pieces happening in here. So the first thing I do when I'm reflecting is I just kind of go through and I look for big ideas. So clearly here there's more floral, more of the pink color, more palette happening here, more florals, and I just kind of am looking for, gosh, it looks like wings are going to be a thing too. More wings, different palette. This is actually, these pages, there are about 3 pages in here that are from another time frame and another class that I took, but interestingly enough, here's the same palette. So those are the kinds of observations that I make. So palette, at first pass, I see that there's a pretty definitive fuchsia, blue, and some darker images, and then a little pop there. But again, throughout the book, there's the fuchsia. So one of the first things that I would do is just make note of that and explore perhaps the psychology of that color for me and what that means, because within this season of this time that I was keeping the book, that is a color that emerged, that was an emergent. So let me go through and let's just hit a couple of these pages. One of the things that I noted about this book is that it really gave me a bunch of questions to take forward. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about this practice. So while I was collaging and sketching, I was also doing some writing. And one of the things that emerged as I made that pass through this book was that I was constantly asking questions. Was it fruitful? And then asking myself if that's even a metric that I want to use. There's a question here that says, what will I do to be powerful today? That question ended up being so important to me that I took it forward. I actually created this journal over the course of a couple of months during the summer, and that question ended up being so powerful that for the next 2 or 3 months, I kept it as a daily question. So I asked myself every day, what am I going to do to be powerful today? Because as I did some exploration and reflection over writings that were in the book and writings that emerged, I realized that that was actually a piece of personal growth for me. It had something to do with my relationship with deadlines and sabotage and how I walk in the world. And so that became an anchor question for me. So that's one of the things that will emerge from this practice, is that you will see themes, questions, images that give you information about how you want to walk forward. Another thing that I enjoy doing within the pages of my book is I take notes when I'm sitting with someone with their permission, and it helps me remember big pictures. It's not like every single word they say, but if I'm sitting with a friend and they ask me an insightful question, or they make a book recommendation, or they say a piece of wisdom that really lands with me and I don't want to forget it, I'll just ask permission, because I always want to be respectful of the person that I'm with. But I'll just ask permission. Can I take a minute and write down that book title? Or can I write down what you just said? That was really valuable to me. More often than not, people don't feel offended by that practice. They actually appreciate that you were listening to them and that you wanted to have a takeaway from the conversation. So I have many pages in this particular book from conversations, from listening to TED Talks, from books that I was listening to, where I wanted to keep a hold of something that captured my curiosity, captured my attention. And like I said, in this particular book, I just ended up curating this really rich set of questions that I have ended up taking forward into this current season of my life. I really love this page. It's got some important ideas and it's got some important visuals. When I chose this book, there were a couple of spreads that were already done, but they've actually tied very beautiful to some of my current soul work and current questions. So it ended up being very timely. So I've got some statements and questions that are part of these pages that were already in place that ended up being really important. And this particular palette informed a body of work that I created, so it ends up being really important. This was a conversation that I had, so a bunch of book titles and some really great curiosities to follow. A little secret pocket there that I'm not going to open up, but really great soul work underneath this page. One of the things that I say about the pages is that the pages always know. And it's one of the emergence of this practice is that you are giving your intuition a place to come forward, because you're not overthinking, you're really just trusting what you're attracted to. So this particular page I created when I was actually filming the course, and it's a motif that I used to draw often when I was a child. And so this whole idea of home, I actually drew it. I put it here in the book because I was filming the course, but I realized later when I was doing a full reflection of this particular book that I had put down this piece of found poetry in here. When I created the first page, which I don't always do at the beginning, we'll talk about sequence in the course, but when I came back and I created the first page, I put this piece of found poetry in the front of the book. It says, "Strengthened and so still that they could hear themselves, they realized and remembered treasures and place." It's really interesting that this whole idea of place and home started to make itself known in this book. And now, currently, I am working in a book that is an altered coffee table book called In Response to Place. The idea of home and place began to bubble up in these pages, but I didn't really see it until I went back, reflected, and then put the whole thing in context with the last 4 journals that I've kept. All of my journals from this calendar year started to have this idea of home and place. I wouldn't have told you that that's what I was choosing to focus on. I would not have said, oh, home and place are a theme in my life right now. But when I go back and I look at the pages, it's really clear that that's something that is working itself out in my internal spaces. That's the power of this practice, and that's why this is different than just keeping an art journal and making pretty pages. This is giving yourself a place to listen to your soul. Okay. You know, one of the things that I started using in this book was black gesso. It was a supply that I was experimenting with, and I found that I carried into my own painting practice. So it's interesting, I find that I explore quite a bit in this book. I am a working artist, so some of my explorations are with materials and palette and that sort of thing. But I don't want you to lock on to just artistic, creative, and visual explorations, because I think that whole idea of chasing curiosity is something that you will find in the pages. And if you're interested in something, I think you'll begin to see that it shows up in the pages. Rainy days and books. How funny, I just wrote that down and then I didn't expound on it. But apparently on February 18th, rainy days and books were important. And maybe it was just enough on that day to make the colors, you know, to make the page. Who knows? Notes from a book, a quote, more notes from a gathering. A lot of times I will take away something that someone said or a question that got posed, and then I'll put it down on a page and then later on return to it. And that's one of the things that happened here. I was exploring rhythms and how I walk in the world and the pace at which I move naturally. And then I was actually pushing at myself and asking myself, do I need to move in a different way for this particular season of my life? Oh, this is really fun. I want to read you what I wrote. One of those days where the U.S. Post Office knows what's up. lists and window light to the rescue, also hot tea and deep breathing. So I received a package in the mail, and it had this fragile sticker on it, and then I went to take the sticker off, and then the sticker tore, and it actually just became an even richer metaphor of how I was feeling on that day. You know, a lot of times we don't quite have words to put around our feelings, but we can use an image, or on this day, a tag from the U.S. Post Office really helped me understand what was going on. And then under here is all the stuff where I worked it out. More palette work. This is a cool page because there's a lot of text. And sometimes when I'm trying to understand what's really going on, when I'm working out the pros and cons of a situation, I'll do it in writing. And then once I've made a decision or come to a conclusion or figured out what's really going on, what's real, what's true, then I'm done, and I'll do some kind of art or collage or painting on top of the whole work. So this particular page has layers and layers and layers. Another thing that I do, and we'll talk about this in the course, is some stream of consciousness writing. And so I will keep another small book and just do the writing spells. And I keep those in a separate book that usually just kind of coincide with this journal. More conversations, dreams, notes, book lists, more conversations, book lists, dreams, meeting notes, and then sometimes the collage is enough. And then this ended up becoming a painting that I scaled up. Again, this book informs my creative practice, my own artistic creative practice. But in many ways, in the same way that I will say, oh, this needs to be a painting, I'm also just as apt to say, oh, this needs to become a conversation, or this needs to become a deeper journaling piece. So I am super excited about inviting you to participate in soul cartography. It is so much more than an artistic practice. It's a beautiful artistic practice, but it has so much benefit for expanding emotional intelligence, deepening your self-awareness, and dipping into a very powerful spiritual practice. So welcome.